If you drive far enough into northern Minnesota, the cell signal dies. The trees close in, the sky turns a dull gray, and the roads narrow to thin strips of cracked asphalt. Somewhere past mile marker 44 lies Coldwater Road, a 5-mile stretch of forest, marshland, and silence. On paper, it's unremarkable. But ask the locals and they'll tell you, kids go missing out there. September 17, 2005. At 4:12 p.m., Emma and Cole Johnson, ages 11 and 9, were seen riding their bikes home from school. They took Coldwater Road like they always did. A neighbor saw them pass his driveway. He waved. They waved back. That was the last time anyone saw them. When the Johnsons realized their kids hadn't come home, they called the county sheriff. By nightfall, the entire town was searching. Flashlights bobbing between the trees, dogs barking in the dark. They found 2 bicycles on the side of the road. No skid marks. No signs of a struggle. Just abandoned. The search went on for weeks. The marsh was dredged. The woods combed inch by inch. Nothing. 2008. 3 years later, another disappearance. Lily Harper, 13, walking home from a friend's house. Last phone call was to her mom, saying she was on her way. Her sneakers were found neatly placed by the roadside, laces tied. The sheriff's office blamed wildlife and possible runaways. Locals didn't buy it. Some swore they saw strange lights in the forest. Others whispered about an old hunting cabin that didn't appear on any maps. I first heard about Coldwater Road in 2017. I was a crime reporter in Minneapolis, and missing person cases were my obsession. The Johnson case was a dead end, but something about it stuck with me. My first trip out there. Coldwater Road looks ordinary in daylight. No haunted vibes. No creepy abandoned buildings. Just woods. But the moment the sun dipped, the silence changed. No crickets. No wind in the leaves. Just a heavy, pressing stillness. I parked where Emma and Cole's bikes were found. Within minutes, my chest felt tight, like the air was too thick. Then I saw it, movement deep between the trees. A figure, small, barefoot. I called out, "Hey, are you okay?" It didn't answer, just stepped backward until it was swallowed by shadow. When I played back my audio recorder later that night, I heard something I didn't remember hearing. A child's voice, faint, whispering, "Help us." I didn't tell anyone about the voice. Not at first. As a reporter, you learn to keep the strange parts of a story to yourself until you can back them up. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. It sounded too clear to be wind, too close to be an echo. The locals. Over the next few weeks, I interviewed anyone who had lived near Coldwater Road long enough to remember the disappearances. Most were polite but guarded. A few flat out refused to talk. An older man named Harold Kessler finally agreed to meet me at a diner outside of town. He was in his 70s, hands shaking as he stirred his coffee. "Harold, they always take the small ones, always at dusk. You won't find 'em, because they ain't here no more." I pressed him on what he meant. He glanced toward the door, as if expecting someone to walk in. "Harold, there's a place in those woods. It ain't on no map, ain't on no satellite. My brother saw it once. Said the trees open up to a clearing, and there's a cabin. But it ain't right. The air's wrong. Sound don't travel there." He came back different. Wouldn't talk about it after. When I asked if he'd show me where, Harold pushed away from the table. "Harold, you don't go looking for that place. It finds you. The cabin." It was mid-October when I decided to try anyway. Minnesota autumn is beautiful. Bright orange leaves, crisp air. But that day felt heavy. Clouds hung low. The forest was darker than usual. I parked just off Coldwater Road and followed a faint deer trail. After 20 minutes, the air changed. Like walking into a different climate. Quieter, denser. That's when I saw it. A small, weathered cabin, half hidden behind pines. No windows on the front. The door slightly open. Inside it smelled of damp wood and milk. On a small table sat 3 glasses, each filled halfway, white and cold, beads of condensation sliding down the sides. The same detail from the Johnson police report, but that had never been made public. The walls were scratched, as if by fingernails, and carved into the wood above the table was a phrase, "We stay here now." I pulled out my phone to take pictures, but the battery was dead. It had been at 78% when I left the car. Then I heard it. Footsteps, slow, barefoot, coming from behind the cabin. I froze. The steps stopped. And then, laughter, high-pitched, echoing, as if from far away, but it was right in my ear. I ran. Branches whipped my face. The air felt thicker with every step, like wading through water. When I finally made it back to my car, my watch said I'd been gone 6 hours, but the sun was in the same place as when I left. The missing files. Back at the newspaper office, I pulled the Johnson and Harper case files again. Something didn't add up. Both incidents happened in September, both on overcast days. Both victims were last seen smiling, described in witness statements as happy but distant. And in both cases, search dogs refused to go more than 50 yards into the woods. They would whine, turn in circles, and run back to their handlers. I filed a Freedom of Information Act request for any other missing persons near Coldwater Road. What came back stunned me. There were 12 disappearances between 1979 and 2005. All children, all within a 2-mile radius. And one of them, from 1986, included a note found at the scene, written in a shaky child's handwriting. "We like it here. Don't come." The 1986 note. I couldn't stop looking at the note from 1986. The handwriting was uneven, almost like the letters had been carved into the paper instead of written. The words "we like it here, don't come," looped in my mind on repeat. There was no record of who found it. No photographs of the scene. Just a single scanned page buried deep in the sheriff's archive. Breaking in. On November 2nd, I went back to Coldwater Road. I told no one. No backup, no camera crew. Just me, a flashlight, and a small voice recorder. This time, I didn't take the deer trail. I walked straight into the forest. No path, letting instinct guide me. After an hour, I found the cabin again. Same tilted roof. Same door ajar. But inside, the table was gone. The walls were clean. No scratches. No carved message. Only the smell remained, damp wood and milk. Then I heard movement upstairs. A faint creak, like a footstep. I whispered into my recorder. "Cabin seems different. Possible someone's living here." As I climbed the narrow staircase, I noticed something strange. The wood was warm to the touch, almost pulsing. At the top was a single room, empty except for a small wooden chair. On it sat a stuffed rabbit, faded and torn. Pinned to its ear was a Polaroid photograph. It was of me, standing in front of the diner from 3 weeks earlier. The voices, the air grew heavy, and that same high-pitched laughter surrounded me. Only this time it was joined by whispers, dozens of them, layered, overlapping. I could make out words. "Stay. Play. You came." The flashlight flickered. In the corner of the room, a shadow moved, but there was nothing to cast it. It stretched along the wall, long and thin, before peeling itself free and standing upright. The shape was small, childlike, but wrong. Its limbs too long, its head tilting at unnatural angles. I backed toward the stairs, but something cold wrapped around my ankle. Looking down, I saw a small hand, pale with dirt under the nails, reaching up from between the floorboards. Then another, and another. Children's faces began pressing up from the wood, eyes wide, mouths open, but not in screams, in smiles. The pull. The hands tightened around my legs, pulling. The floor seemed to soften under me, like wet clay. I dropped the flashlight, plunging the room into darkness. My recorder was still running. I can play you the audio, but I can't explain it. First, my voice. Panicked breathing, struggling. Then, a girl's voice, inches from the mic. "It's okay. You'll like it here." The escape. I don't remember how I got out. One moment I was being pulled under, the next I was lying on the forest floor, 50 yards from the cabin. The sun was setting. I ran until I saw the road. When I reached my car, I checked my watch. It was November 2nd when I entered the woods. It was November 10th when I came out. The missing week. I lost 8 days. No one saw me. No one heard from me. My phone, wallet, and recorder were gone. 3 weeks later, a package arrived at the newspaper addressed to me. No return address. Inside was my voice recorder. It had only one file on it, the final 5 minutes before I escaped. At the very end of the recording, after the girl's voice, there's something else. A man's whisper. We stay here now. Aftermath. 2 weeks ago, I got a call from an unlisted number. It was a child's voice. You promised you'd come back. The line went dead. Last night, I saw something at the edge of my street. Small, barefoot, watching. I'm leaving town tomorrow. But sometimes, when I close my eyes, I hear them in the walls. Faint laughter, getting closer. And I know, they're not done with me.